The theme for the celestial ball was Galactic Goddess, and the pressure was astronomical. This wasn't just any gig, it was the biggest drag show of the year, hosted by the legendary and notoriously critical Miss Anita Day. The winner got a cash prize that could cover 3 months' rent and a feature in Slay magazine. My look was, if I do say so myself, a celestial serve. I was Venus, the planet of love incarnate. My gown was a monumental confection of iridescent pink and orange tulle, swirling around me like I'd just formed from the solar nebula itself. My headpiece was a precarious, breathtaking constellation of brass wire, fiber optics, and enough Swarovski crystals to put a disco ball to shame. I was breathtaking. I was a vision. I was also, currently, epoxied to the backstage floor. Don't just stand there with your jaw unhinged, Coco. Channel your inner heroine and do something, I hissed, attempting a subtle, graceful shift of my left heel. It refused to budge. The industrial-strength craft adhesive I'd panic-used to secure a rogue, priceless crystal to my stiletto had seeped through the sequins and was now performing a permanent fusion between my footwear and the cheap laminate. Coco LaBelle, my best friend and dressing room roommate, was dressed as a seductive alien queen from a low-budget sci-fi channel. Her outfit was primarily green spray paint and a headband with wobbly antennae. She took a long slurp from a juice box and snorted. "What is it you expect me to do, Venus? Chew your foot off like a trapped wolf? You're the one who lives by the mantra, more is more and too much is just enough. Well, congratulations, darling. You've graduated to catastrophically excessive. You're not just a queen, you're a permanent installation." The opening number was in precisely 7 minutes. I could hear the thunderous bass of the pre-show music and the host, Miss Anita Day, piercing through it all. "Hello, my earthlings! Are you ready to blast off with your goddesses?" The crowd roared its approval. I let out a sound that was less a whimper and more the squeak of a doomed space rodent. This entire calamity had an origin story, of course. It started 3 hours ago. My original gown, a stunning, form-fitting silver number with a built-in constellation light show, had met with a tragic and untimely end. The culprit, a rogue, enthusiastically gestured hand from Bambidextrous, who was dressed as a tipsy supernova, and a full, fishbowl-sized Long Island iced tea. The gown was a lost cause, a sparkling, ethanol-soaked puddle of regret. Panic. Sheer, unadulterated, world-ending panic. That's when Coco, bless her chaotic, beautiful heart, had emerged from the depths of the costume closet, dragging a giant, dust-covered garment bag. "Here, stop hyperventilating into a sequin bag. It's my cousin's failed final project from art school. He called it a post-structuralist commentary on the gaseous nature of societal constructs or some other nonsense that means I wasted my tuition. Just add straps and a prayer." With trembling hands, I unzipped the bag. It was a monstrosity. A beautiful, voluminous, cloud-like monstrosity of pink and orange netting. It was insane. It was perfect. The next 2 hours were a blur of frantic hot glue gun burns, double-sided tape, and strategic crystal placement. I was a whirlwind of creation. I was a vision reborn from the ashes of a previous look. A phoenix in drag. Until I became a statue. A very glamorous, very stuck statue. "Okay, think," Coco said, now tapping her green chin with a finger. "We need a solvent, something powerful enough to break down a bond strong enough to hold a planet together." Her eyes scanned the cluttered, chaotic dressing room, past the mountains of wigs, the forests of feathers, the half-eaten piece of pizza that had been there since last Tuesday. They landed on the bottle next to it. "Vodka!" "Vodka is usually the cause of my problems, Coco, not the solution," I cried, my voice reaching a new octave of desperation. "Science, Venus. Trust me," she declared with the unearned confidence of a reality TV scientist. She grabbed the cheap bottle of vodka, uncorked it with her teeth, and before I could utter another word of protest, she was on her knees, dousing my imprisoned heel like a deranged priestess performing an exorcism. The sharp, clean smell of alcohol hit me first, cutting through the familiar scents of hairspray and foundation. Then I heard it, a faint, ominous sizzling sound. Or maybe that was just the sound of my career dissolving. But then, a miracle. My foot moved. It made a terrible, ripping sound, like the world's most expensive piece of Velcro being torn apart in slow motion. But it moved. I was free. Elating, I stumbled forward, my balance compromised by the sudden liberation, and crashed right into Coco. The bottle of vodka flew from her hand. It arced through the air, spinning end over end in a beautiful, tragic, slow-motion ballet before landing with a solid thunk directly on the pinnacle of my intricate headpiece. For one terrifying second, nothing happened. We both stared, frozen. Then the fiber optic wires, thoroughly drenched in 80-proof solvent, short-circuited. They issued a dramatic pop, a shower of tiny sparks, and then died completely. My beautiful, glowing constellation of stars went dark. The silence was devastating. And then, from the center of the dark wires, a single, stubborn, bright red LED light flickered back to life. Blink, 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 like a celestial check engine light. "Venus, you're on! Go, go, go!" the stage manager bellowed, ripping the curtain aside and shoving me toward the bright lights. There was no time. The opening chords of Venus by Lady Gaga started to boom through the speakers. This was it. My moment. I stumbled onto the stage, blinded by the lights. The crowd, expecting a cohort of flawless goddesses, went dead silent for a heart-stopping second, their collective gaze taking in the cloud-like dress, the vodka dripping down my temples, and the single, blinking red emergency light on my head. Then they erupted. They absolutely lost their minds. They thought it was all intentional. My clumsy stumble became an ethereal, weightless drift. The dripping vodka was morning dew on the clouds of Venus. The blinking red light, a daring avant-garde choice. A distant supernova, a warning beacon from a far-off moon, a cosmic heartbreak. I was a disaster. But honey, I was their disaster, and they were loving it. I sold it. I lip-synced for my eternal salvation, pouring every ounce of my panic and relief into the performance. I waved my arms, making the tulle clouds billow. I pointed tragically to my blinking head as I sang about being the greatest planet. I was camp. I was chaos. I was art born from sheer dumb luck. I finished my verse, and the spotlight mercifully moved on to the next queen. As I shuffled to the back of the stage to join the formation, I felt a firm, manicured hand on my arm. It was the legendary Betty Bopp, a queen who had been doing this since before I was born, dressed as a stunningly chic Saturn with a giant, bejeweled ring around her waist. She leaned in, her headdress gently nudging my soggy, broken one. "Rough ascent into orbit, planet?" she whispered, a wicked, knowing smirk playing on her perfectly painted lips. "You have no idea," I whispered back, my voice still shaky with adrenaline. "I'm literally held together by hope, craft glue, and cheap vodka." She chuckled, a low, warm, gravelly sound that spoke of 1,000 backstage catastrophes survived. "Welcome to the big leagues, sweetheart. Let me let you in on a secret. The mark of a true professional isn't a perfect performance." She gestured elegantly with her fan toward my still blinking head. "It's how you sell a catastrophe as a conscious choice. Now wipe that panic off your face, replace it with mystery, and smile. You're a star." And standing there, in my damp, malfunctioning, glorious mess, surrounded by my fellow interstellar divas, with the crowd's cheers washing over me, I realized she was right. This wasn't a failure. This was a war story. This was the stuff of legend. The night Venus got plastered, became a blinking caution light, and somehow miraculously, gave the performance of her life. The crowd was screaming. My red light was still blinking, a steady, rhythmic pulse against the strobe lights. My heel was still slightly sticky, and I had never, ever felt more like a real star.